The alarm went off on the Dirthian patrol ship at exactly 0600 hours. Commander Crix looked at his screen and saw a small human transport vessel crossing through the disputed zone. His officers waited for orders. This area of space had been argued about for 3 years now. Humans said it belonged to them. Dirthians claimed it first. Neither side would back down. "Intercept that ship," Crix ordered. His voice was cold and calm like always. The Dirthians were known across the galaxy as efficient soldiers. They did not feel much emotion. They followed orders and expected others to do the same. The patrol ship moved fast. Within minutes, they caught up to the human transport. It was a small civilian vessel, not military. Crix opened a channel. "Human transport, this is Dirthian patrol. You are in our space. Prepare to be boarded." The human captain on the other end sounded nervous. "This is Captain Lee of the Transport Bright Future. We are on a scheduled route. This space is neutral according to the treaty. The treaty is under dispute. You will allow boarding or be fired upon." There was silence. Then the human captain agreed. He had no choice. His ship had no weapons. The Dirthian soldiers boarded quickly. They moved through the ship, checking every room. Commander Crix walked behind them, his boots making sharp sounds on the metal floor. He was looking for weapons or military equipment, proof that humans were using civilian ships to scout their territory. Then he heard something that made him stop. Laughter. Children's laughter. He walked faster toward the sound. His soldiers had already found them. In the main passenger area, 15 human children sat with 3 adult teachers. The children were young, maybe 5 to 12 years old. They had been looking out the windows at the stars. Some had drawings. Others had toys. "What is this?" Crix demanded. One of the teachers stood up. She was a woman named Ms. Park. Her voice shook, but she tried to sound brave. "This is a school field trip. We are taking the children to see the Bellara Nebula. It is for their science class." Crix looked at the children. He had never seen human children before. Most aliens had not. Humans kept their young ones safe on their home worlds. These children looked at him with wide eyes. Some seemed scared. Others seemed curious. An idea came to Crix, a cold, calculated idea. He turned to his second officer. "Contact the magistrate. Tell him we have leverage." Ms. Park stepped forward. "Leverage? These are children. You cannot silence." Crix pointed his weapon at her. "Not to shoot, just to warn. Humans have been pushing into our space for months. Your government ignores our complaints. Now they will listen." The other 2 teachers moved to protect the children. The Dirthian soldiers stunned them with electric weapons. They fell to the floor unconscious. The children screamed. Some cried. A small girl named Bora ran to Miss Park and shook her, trying to wake her up. "Separate the children from the adults," Crix ordered. "Transport them to Station Korth 7. His soldiers hesitated. Even Dirthians, who felt little emotion, knew this was wrong. One soldier, young and new, spoke up. "Sir, they are younglings. The galactic protocols do not apply in disputed territory. Follow orders." The soldiers obeyed. They always did. The children were taken to the Dirthian ship. The oldest girl, Hye-Jin, held the younger ones close. An 8-year-old boy named Wu Jin kept asking where they were going. No one answered him. The human transport was left floating in space with the unconscious adults. The Dirthian ship jumped away. News of the capture spread fast. In the galaxy, information moved at the speed of light through the quantum network. Within 2 hours, every major government knew what had happened. Ambassador Velthar was in his office at the Galactic Council building when his assistant rushed in. "Velthar was from a species called the Anori. They were peaceful beings who looked like tall, thin creatures with silver skin. The Anori loved children of all species. They believed protecting the young was the most important duty of any civilization." "Ambassador, you need to see this," his assistant said, pushing a data pad toward him. Velthar read the report. His silver skin turned darker, a sign of extreme emotion. No, this cannot be real. It is confirmed. The Dirthians took 15 human children. They are holding them at Station Korth 7. Velthar stood up so fast his chair fell over. "Get me the Dirthian delegation now." But the Dirthians would not answer his calls. They knew what they had done. They were hiding behind official channels and legal language. Velthar tried for an hour to reach them. Finally, he demanded an emergency session of the Galactic Council. As a senior ambassador, he had that right. Meanwhile, in human space, Captain Dewan was on his ship when the message came through. He was a military commander, experienced and respected. He had fought in border skirmishes before. He knew how to stay calm under pressure, but when he saw the list of captured children, his hands started shaking. The name Woo Jin Kim was third on the list, his son. His 8-year-old son who loved stars and wanted to be a pilot someday. Sir, his second officer, Lieutenant Nara, looked at him with concern. Daewon could not speak. He just stared at the name. His son had been so excited about this trip. He had talked about it for weeks. He wanted to see the nebula, to take pictures, to write a report for his class. Captain Admiral Sung Ho is calling for all ships to report to battle stations. Daewon found his voice. It came out as a whisper. They took my son. Nara stepped closer. She was a good officer and a good person. We will get him back, sir. We will get all of them back. All across human space, the military mobilized. Every ship was called in. Every soldier reported for duty. Leaves were canceled. Families said quick goodbyes. The humans were preparing for something. The emergency council session began 3 hours after the capture. The huge chamber filled with representatives from 100 species. Ambassador Velthar stood at the center podium. His voice carried to every corner through the speakers. I call this session to address an unthinkable crime. The Dirthian military has captured 15 human children. Younglings. Innocents. A noise went through the chamber. Shock. Disgust. Disbelief. The Dirthian delegation sat in their section. 3 representatives with hard faces. Their leader stood. We have detained illegal travelers in disputed space. This is within our rights. Velthar turned to face them. His silver skin was now almost black with rage. They are children. They are humans in our territory. You captured human children? Velthar's voice rose to a shout. Are you insane? The chamber erupted. Species after species stood to condemn the Dirthians. But the Dirthian leader remained calm. We will release them when the humans withdraw their claims to the disputed zone. It is simple negotiation. Velthar walked down from his podium. He walked straight to the Dirthian section. His voice dropped to something quiet and terrible. You have no idea what you have done. You have studied humans, yes? You know where they come from? Earth, a Class 7 world. Moderate danger rating. Class 7? Velthar laughed, but it was not a happy sound. Earth is a death world. The rating is wrong because humans smile and make friends and seem soft. But do you know what made them survive on that world? Do you know what evolution carved into their minds? The Dirthian said nothing. Protect the children. At any cost. By any means. It is in their bones, in their blood, in every thought they think. And you took their children. They will negotiate. Velthar turned away. You will all die. Every single one of you. And I will not lift a finger to stop it. He walked out of the chamber. Behind him, the council dissolved into chaos. Some species started cutting diplomatic ties with the Dirthians immediately. Others demanded the children's release. A few remained silent, already distancing themselves from what was coming. On Station Korth 7, the children sat in a cold room meant for adult prisoners. The walls were gray. The lights were too bright. There were no windows. Heejin, the oldest at 10, gathered the younger children close. Bora was crying. Woojin tried to be brave, but his lip trembled. It will be okay, Hyojin told them. She did not know if this was true, but adults always said it, so she did too. Our parents will come for us. When? Bora asked through her tears. Soon. Very soon. Outside the room, Dirthian guards stood watch. One of them, a young soldier, felt something he rarely felt. Guilt. He looked through the window at the small humans huddled together. They looked so fragile, so scared. This is wrong, he said quietly to his partner. Orders are orders. But they are younglings. His partner said nothing. They both knew it was wrong. But they were soldiers. They followed orders. Back in human space, Admiral Sung Ho stood before a screen showing 50 human warships. All of them ready. All of them waiting. He opened a channel to the Dirthian government. His message was short. You have 24 hours to return every child unharmed to these coordinates. If you refuse, there will be consequences. The Dirthians sent back a long message full of legal terms and demands. They wanted territory. They wanted concessions. They wanted humans to admit the space was Dirthian. Admiral Sung Ho deleted the message without reading it all. He looked at Captain Daewon, who stood beside him on the bridge. They think we will negotiate. Daewon's face was like stone. They are wrong. The 24 hours began to count down. In the council chambers, Velthar watched and prayed to gods he did not believe in. He prayed that the Dirthians would see reason. The Galactic Council chamber had never been so divided. After Velthar walked out, the session continued for another 6 hours. Species argued with each other. Some wanted immediate sanctions against the Dirthians. Others said they should wait and let diplomacy work. The Dirthian delegates sat calmly through it all. They had made their calculations. Humans were emotional creatures, yes, but they were also civilized. They would negotiate. They had to. No one would risk war over a simple hostage situation. Ambassador Velthar returned to his office and pulled up every file he had on humans. He had met humans before. He liked them. They were strange but kind. They made friends easily. They laughed often. They cried at sad stories. They even formed emotional bonds with small animals and machines. But there was another side to humans that most aliens never saw. Velthar found the files from the Xenopsychology Department. Earth, a world with massive storms that could flatten cities, earthquakes that split the ground, volcanoes that turned day into night, animals with claws, fangs, venom, and size that could kill a human in seconds, diseases that spread through the air, plants that were poison to touch, and somehow humans thrived there. More than thrived. They conquered their world. How? Velthar read deeper. Humans evolved as pack hunters. They formed tight family groups. They protected each other with fierce loyalty. And most important, they protected their children with an intensity that bordered on madness. There were studies. One showed that a human parent's brain chemistry changed completely when their child was threatened. Logic shut down. Caution disappeared. Pain tolerance increased. They became, in simple terms, unstoppable until the threat was eliminated. Another study measured human responses to images. When shown pictures of their own children in danger, human heart rates spiked to dangerous levels. Their bodies flooded with chemicals that made them stronger and faster. The researcher who conducted the study had written a note at the bottom. Recommend never threatening human offspring. Results suggest extreme protective response beyond rational control. Velthar sat back in his chair. He needed to make the council understand. He called his assistant. Prepare a presentation. I need to show them what the Dirthians have awakened. Across the galaxy, on Earth, the news had reached every human settlement. The reaction was not panic. It was something worse. Something cold and determined. Dr. Mi-young was a xenobiologist working at a research station when she heard. Her daughter was one of the 15 children. She did not cry. She did not scream. She walked calmly to her supervisor and said 5 words. I am joining the rescue team. You are not military. I am going. Her supervisor looked at her face and knew better than to argue. He had worked with humans for 10 years. He recognized that look. He approved her leave immediately. On Captain Daewon's ship, Lieutenant Nara was coordinating with intelligence services. They had tracked the children to Station Korth 7. She pulled up everything they knew about the station. Its layout, its defenses, its weak points. We can breach here, here, and here, she told Daewon, pointing at the hologram. 3 teams, simultaneous entry. We get in, secure the children, get out. What about Dirthian resistance? Nara's face hardened. Anyone who gets in our way does not leave alive. Daewon nodded. This was not the time for mercy. The Dirthians had made their choice. Now they would face the consequences. Admiral Sung-ho was in a strategy meeting with his command staff. 50 ships were ready, but he was considering something bigger, something that would send a clear message to every species in the galaxy. What if we hit them where it hurts? One of his officers suggested. Not the station, their homeworld. The room went quiet. Attacking a homeworld was forbidden by galactic law. It was the ultimate war crime. Species who did it were labeled as monsters and hunted by everyone else. But Admiral Sung-ho did not dismiss the idea. He thought about it carefully. We will not attack the homeworld, but we can surround it, show them what we are capable of, make them understand. Sir, that will be seen as an act of war. They took our children. That is already an act of war. The meeting continued deep into the night. Plans were made. Resources were allocated. Messages were sent to reserve fleets. On Station Korth 7, the children had been moved to a more secure section. The room was even colder here. There were no beds, just hard benches along the walls. The guards brought them food, but it was bland and strange tasting. Hye-jin had taken charge of the group. She organized them, making sure the younger ones ate even when they did not want to. She told them stories to keep their minds off their situation. She taught them breathing exercises her mother had shown her when she felt scared. Woo-jin was observing everything. He watched the guards change shifts. He counted how many seconds the door stayed open when they brought food. He memorized the layout of what he could see through the door. He did not know why he was doing this. Some instinct told him the information might be important. Bora had stopped crying. She sat close to Hye-jin, holding onto her arm. Sometimes she asked when her parents would come. Hye-jin always said the same thing. Soon. One of the Dirthian guards, the young one who felt guilty, tried to be kind to them. He brought them extra blankets. He smiled at them when the other guards were not looking. But the children did not trust him. He was one of the people who took them. Kind words did not change that. The 24-hour deadline was approaching. Admiral Sung-ho opened a channel to the Dirthian government again. You have 6 hours remaining. Return the children. The Dirthian response came from High Magistrate Thelmos himself. He was the leader of their government, old and traditional. His voice was formal and cold. The humans will withdraw from the disputed zone. They will sign a treaty recognizing Dirthian sovereignty. Then and only then will the detainees be released. They are not detainees. They are children, innocents. They are leverage. The humans understand leverage. You are making a mistake. No, Admiral. You are making the mistake if you think threats will work on us. We are Dirthians. We do not bend to emotion. The call ended. Admiral Sung-ho looked at his officers. They waited for orders. He made his decision. Change of plans. We are not going to the station. We are going to the Dirthian homeworld. All 50 ships. The room erupted in surprise. Sir, that will... I know what it will do. That is the point. They want to play games with our children? We will show them what games humans play. The fleet began moving, not toward Station Korth 7, but toward the heart of Dirthian space. Back at the council, Velthar was giving his presentation. Images of Earth appeared on screens throughout the chamber. Videos of predators hunting, storms destroying, fires burning. The council members watched in fascination and horror. This is where humans come from, Velthar said. They call it home. We would call it a nightmare. To survive there, they had to become something special, something dangerous. He showed brain scans, chemical analyses, behavioral studies. When a human's child is threatened, their entire biology changes. They become focused on one goal: eliminate the threat. They will not stop. They will not negotiate. They will not forgive. A council member from a peaceful species raised their hand. Surely they can be reasoned with. All sentient beings respond to logic, not when their children are involved. There are documented cases of human parents lifting vehicles that weigh tons to save a trapped child. Cases of parents fighting off predators 3 times their size. Cases of parents walking through fire, swimming through floods, climbing impossible heights. Logic does not apply. The Dirthian delegate stood. You exaggerate. Humans are no different than any other species. They bluff and threaten, but ultimately they follow galactic law. Velthar turned to face him. How many human children have been kidnapped in galactic history? This is the first recorded case, and why do you think that is? Because humans keep them protected, safe, hidden away on their worlds where nothing can touch them. You found the one weakness humans have and you struck it. Do you know what happens to predators on Earth who attack human children? What? They go extinct. Humans hunt them until not one remains. They show no mercy. They give no second chances. You have made yourselves the predator, and now the humans are hunting you. As if to prove his point, alarms started going off throughout the council building. Emergency broadcasts lit up every screen. The council members watched in shock as images appeared showing the human fleet. 50 warships had jumped into Dirthian space. They surrounded the Dirthian homeworld in a perfect sphere. Every weapon was charged. Every ship was ready to fire. Admiral Sung-ho's face appeared on every screen in Dirthian space. His message was broadcast to every city, every station, every ship. His voice was calm but absolutely cold. You have our children. You have 6 hours to return them to these coordinates unharmed. For every bruise, we destroy a city. For every broken bone, we destroy a colony. For every death, we destroy a world. This is not a negotiation. This is a promise. We do not bluff. We do not forgive. Return our children, the message ended. Silence fell across Dirthian space. Citizens looked up at their skies knowing human ships were there, invisible but deadly. The Dirthian military scrambled, but what could they do? Fight 50 human warships while they orbited the homeworld? Any battle would kill millions of their own people. The 6 hours felt like forever and no time at all. On the Dirthian homeworld, people watched the sky with fear. They could not see the human ships, but they knew they were there. Mothers held their own children close. Fathers checked emergency supplies. Everyone wondered if their leaders would be stupid enough to let this go on. High Magistrate Thelmos had no choice left. Every minute more reports came in. Trade partners were canceling contracts. Neighboring systems were closing their borders. Even species that had been allies for centuries were turning their backs. The Dirthians were alone. Send the message, he finally said to his communications officer. Tell Commander Crix to bring the human younglings to the coordinates. All of them. Unharmed. At Station Korth 7, Commander Crix received the order. He felt something close to relief, though he would never admit it. The last 2 days had been difficult. Every time he walked past the room where the children were kept, he felt that strange guilt getting stronger. Prepare a transport, he ordered. Medical team, scan all the younglings. I want documentation that they are unharmed. His second officer looked confused. Sir, why do we need... Because if anything has happened to them, those ships will fire. Do it now. The guards went to collect the children. When the door opened, Hyejin stood up first. She had been expecting this. Humans always came for their children. Always. She had told the others this, and now she was right. Where are we going? She asked. The young guard who had tried to be kind answered. Home, you are going home. Bora started crying again, but this time from happiness. Woojin grabbed Hyejin's hand tightly. The other children gathered close, scared to hope but hoping anyway. They were led through the station. Woojin watched everything, memorizing the path just like he had been doing. When they reached the medical bay, strange machines scanned them. The Dirthian doctor checked the results carefully. Minor bruising on 3 subjects, elevated stress hormones in all subjects, mild dehydration. No serious injuries, the doctor reported. Commander Crix nodded. Record everything. Transmit it to the human fleet. The children were given water and food for the journey. Then they were taken to a transport ship. It was small and fast, meant for quick trips. The guards strapped them into seats gently, more carefully than they had done anything else. As the transport prepared to launch, Commander Crix stood in the airlock. He looked at the children one last time. Hyejin stared back at him with eyes that seemed too old for her age. She did not say anything. She did not need to. The message was clear. We will not forget. The transport launched from the station and set course for the coordinates the humans had specified. It was a neutral zone, far from any military installations, safe space. The human fleet detected the transport immediately. Admiral Sung-ho watched it approach on his screens. All ships hold fire. Let them through. The transport landed at a small outpost that humans had seized for this purpose. The doors opened and Dirthian crew members came out slowly, their hands visible and empty. Then the children appeared. 15 small humans blinking in the bright light. They looked tired and scared but alive. So beautifully, wonderfully alive. Captain Daewon was first off the human ship. He ran across the landing platform, followed by other parents and Dr. Mi-young. When Woojin saw his father, he broke free from Hyejin's hand and ran. Daewon caught him and fell to his knees, holding his son so tight it probably hurt. He was crying. He did not care who saw. Dad, I knew you would come, Woojin said into his father's shoulder. I told the others. I said humans always come for their kids. Daewon could not speak. He just held on. Dr. Mi-young found her daughter and did the same. All around the platform, parents and children reunited. Medical teams moved in with scanners checking each child carefully. Lieutenant Nara coordinated everything with her usual efficiency, but even she had tears in her eyes. Hyejin was the last to be picked up. Her parents worked on a distant colony and could not reach the outpost in time. But she did not stand alone. Every human there wanted to comfort her. A soldier picked her up gently and held her. Your parents are on their way. They will be here in 2 hours. You were so brave. So brave. I had to be, Hyejin said simply. The little ones needed me. The medical scans confirmed what the Dirthians had reported. Minor injuries only. Nothing permanent. The children were traumatized, certainly, but alive and safe. Admiral Sung Ho received the confirmation. He opened a channel to the Dirthian homeworld. We have our children. They are unharmed. Your world will not be destroyed today. High Magistrate Thelmos nearly collapsed with relief. Then you will withdraw your fleet? No, there must be consequences. The relief turned to fear again. But you have the younglings back. You said, I said we would not destroy your world. I never said there would be no punishment. The human fleet began moving, not toward the homeworld, but toward Station Korth 7. The Dirthians watched in confusion at first, then in growing horror as they realized what was about to happen. All Dirthian personnel, evacuate Station Korth 7 immediately. Admiral Sung Ho broadcast. You have 30 minutes. Alarms blared across the station. Personnel ran to escape pods and transports. Commander Crix was the last to leave, making sure every one of his crew made it out. As his escape pod launched, he looked back at the station. 15 human ships surrounded it, weapons ready. The 30 minutes ended. The human ships opened fire. It was not chaotic or angry. It was methodical and precise. Each weapon struck exactly where it needed to. The station broke apart in sections, each explosion carefully controlled to prevent debris from hitting anything else. The galaxy watched. The broadcast was public. Everyone saw what happened when you took human children, but the humans were not done. Admiral Sung Ho contacted the Dirthian government again. Commander Crix and every guard who touched our children will be handed over to human custody. They will stand trial. You cannot demand we can. You have 24 hours. If you refuse, we start seizing them ourselves. The Dirthian government did not have 24 hours. Within 6 hours, Commander Crix and the guards were delivered to the neutral zone. They came quietly, knowing that resistance would mean death for more of their people. The trials were quick. The humans had evidence of everything. The Dirthians were found guilty of kidnapping, illegal imprisonment, and threatening minors. The sentences were 50 years in human prisons. The guards who had shown some kindness got lighter sentences. The young guard who had tried to help the children got only 10 years. Commander Crix got life. He sat in his cell and thought about his decisions. He had believed humans were soft, emotional, easily manipulated. He had been so very wrong. At the Galactic Council, an emergency vote was held. The Dirthian delegation was expelled. It was nearly unanimous. Only 2 species abstained, and both of them issued statements saying they did not support what the Dirthians had done. Economic sanctions followed. No species would trade with the Dirthians. No ships could enter their space except for humanitarian reasons. They were cut off from the galactic community. Ambassador Velthar stood before the council again. His silver skin had returned to its normal color, though he still looked tired. Let this day be remembered. Let it be taught to every species, every child, every leader. Do not harm human younglings. Not by accident, not by ignorance, and certainly not by design. He pulled up images of the destroyed station. This is mercy. The humans could have destroyed the homeworld. They could have started a war of extermination. But they showed restraint because the children were returned unharmed. If even one child had been seriously hurt, we would be watching worlds burn right now. A council member asked, "What happens now? How do we move forward?" The humans will move forward when they are ready. The Dirthians will rebuild if they can. The rest of us will learn. Or at least we better learn. Back on Earth, the children were taken to hospitals. Psychologists worked with each one. Most were doing well, all things considered. They had nightmares, yes. They were scared of being alone. But they were also proud. They had survived something terrible, and they had helped each other through it. Wu Jin spent every night in his father's quarters for the first week. Day one did not mind. He would wake up sometimes and just watch his son sleep, grateful beyond words. Yijin reunited with her parents and spent 2 weeks just being held and told she was safe. When she was ready to talk, she told them everything. How she kept the others calm. How she taught them games. How she made them brave. "You were so strong," her mother said. "I had to be. That is what humans do." Bora recovered the fastest, the way young children often do. She drew pictures of her family. She played with her toys. Sometimes she would get quiet and sad, but those moments became less frequent. Dr. Mi Young returned to her work, but everything felt different now. She had volunteered for the rescue mission, ready to fight if needed. That surprised her. She was a scientist, not a soldier. But when her child was threatened, none of that mattered. Lieutenant Nara requested assignment to a new department, Child Safety Protocols. She spent her days designing systems to make sure human children could never be captured again. Transport ships got better security. School trips got military escorts. New procedures were written and implemented. 3 months passed. The galaxy was still adjusting to what had happened. The Korth 7 incident, as it was now called, became required study in every diplomatic academy. Future ambassadors watched the videos, read the reports, and learned the lesson that the Dirthians learned too late. The Dirthian civilization was struggling. Without trade, their economy collapsed. Food became expensive. Medicine ran short. The proud militaristic society found itself begging for help from the same council that had expelled them. High Magistrate Thelmos resigned in disgrace. The new government was led by younger Dirthians who had opposed the kidnapping from the start. They sent formal apologies to Earth. Long, detailed letters addressed to each child by name. Most of the letters went unanswered. But Haye Jin, after talking with her parents and her therapist, wrote back. Her letter was short. I forgive you because holding anger hurts me more than it hurts you, but I will never forget. Make sure your people never forget either. Learn from this. Her letter was published across Dirthian space. It became required reading in their schools. Young Dirthians grew up knowing the story of how their government's arrogance nearly destroyed everything. Ambassador Velthar had become something of a celebrity. His speech warning the Dirthians had been recorded and shared billions of times. He received requests to speak at universities, conferences, and government assemblies. He always said the same thing. I was not brave. I was terrified. I had studied humans. I knew what was coming. I tried to stop it, not for the Dirthians, but for the galaxy's sake. Because if one species can do this and survive, others might try. We cannot let that happen. He established the Velthar Institute for Xenopsychology. Its mission was to study species from dangerous worlds and understand their unique psychological traits. The first course offered was titled Humanity and the Protection Instinct. It was always full, with waiting lists hundreds long. On Earth, the children continued healing. They met regularly as a group, a kind of support system that only they could provide for each other. They had shared something that no one else could fully understand. Wu Jin was doing well. His nightmares came less frequently now. He had returned to school and his friends treated him like a hero. He did not feel like one. He felt lucky. Lucky that Haye Jin had been there. Lucky that the adults had come so fast. Lucky that it ended when it did. His father, now Ambassador Daewon, traveled constantly. He visited alien worlds and spoke at council meetings. His message was always clear but not cruel. We want peace. We want friendship. We want to build a galaxy where all species can thrive. But there are lines that cannot be crossed. Our children are that line. He brought Wu Jin with him sometimes when it was safe. The other species needed to see what a human child actually was. Not a strategic resource or a bargaining chip, but a person. A small, vulnerable person who deserved protection. The first time an alien dignitary met Wu Jin, they were shocked by how fragile he looked. Human children were smaller than most species young. They had no claws, no armor, no venom. They seemed impossibly delicate. How do they survive? The dignitary asked Daewon. We protect them, all of us, every human. It is not just parents. It is teachers, neighbors, strangers on the street. We all protect the children. That seems inefficient. Each family protecting only their own would be weaker. Our way is stronger. An attack on one child is an attack on all of us. That is why your species should never test us on this. The dignitary understood. Most did after meeting human children. It was hard to see Wu Jin's curious smile and imagine hurting him. Haye Jin had started writing about her experience. Her therapist suggested it as a way to process the trauma. What started as a private journal became something more. Her parents, with her permission, showed it to a publisher. The book was titled 6 Days a Child's Story. It became a bestseller across multiple species. Haye Jin wrote in simple language about what happened. The fear, the cold, the hunger, but also the strength she found. The way the children had supported each other. The moment she saw her parents again. The final chapter was about forgiveness and moving forward. I am not broken, she wrote. Bad things happen to me, but they do not define me. I am still Haye Jin. I still love science and art. I still want to explore the galaxy. The Dirthians took 6 days from me. They will not take my future. Alien children read her book in their schools. They learned about bravery and resilience. They learned that even when adults made terrible decisions, children could survive and grow stronger. Bora, the youngest, remembered the least. Her therapist said this was good. Young children often forgot traumatic events faster. She had some fears about enclosed spaces and strangers, but she was working through them. Her parents were patient and loving, never pushing her too fast. She had started drawing. Pictures of stars and ships and families holding hands. Her art teacher said she had talent. Bora did not care about talent. She just liked making pretty things. The scary memories faded a little more with each drawing. Dr. Mi Young had changed careers. She was still a xenobiologist, but now she worked for the diplomatic corps. Her job was to help other species understand humans better. She taught courses about Earth's environment and how it shaped human psychology. "We evolved to survive," she explained in one lecture, "not just as individuals, but as a species. That meant protecting our young at all costs. It meant forming strong bonds. It meant remembering threats and eliminating them. These are not weaknesses. They are the reasons we survived." She showed images of Earth's predators: lions, bears, sharks, crocodiles. Humans hunted most of these to near extinction when they threatened our settlements. Not for food, not for sport, for protection, because they killed our children. Do you understand? We made entire species disappear because they were dangerous to our young. The aliens in her class understood. Some were horrified. Others were impressed. All of them were warned. Lieutenant Nara had been promoted to commander. Her child safety division had grown from a small office to an entire department. Hundreds of people worked on protocols, security systems, and emergency response plans. Every human transport now had military-grade shields and weapons. Every colony had rapid response teams trained specifically for child rescue. Every school had evacuation drills and safe rooms. The cost was enormous, but no human government questioned it. Not after Korth 7. Nara also worked with other species to develop universal child protection laws. It was slow work. Different species had different ideas about what children were and how they should be treated. But progress was made. The Council passed a resolution declaring children of all species as protected persons. Harming them was now a galactic crime. It was not perfect. Enforcement was difficult. But it was a start. Admiral Sung Ho retired from military service. He had accomplished what he set out to do: bring the children home safe. Now he wanted to spend time with his own family. He had grandchildren, and he had realized how precious that time was. But before he left, he oversaw one final project. A memorial station was built at the coordinates where the children had been returned. It was open space, beautiful and peaceful. Ships passing by could stop and visit. The memorial had 15 statues. Not of the children themselves, they deserved privacy. Instead, 15 abstract figures representing youth, innocence, and resilience. Each statue was made from metal salvaged from Station Korth 7. Destruction turned into something meaningful. A plaque at the entrance read, "Here, children were returned to those who love them. Here, a galaxy learned what should have been obvious. Protect the young. All young. Always." Commander Creek sat in his human prison cell and read news reports about the memorial. He had been given access to galactic networks as part of his rights as a prisoner. The humans treated him fairly, which somehow made his guilt worse. He thought about those 6 days often. Every decision that led to the capture. Every moment he could have stopped it. He had been so certain that humans would negotiate, so sure that his plan was clever. He wrote letters to the children sometimes. The prison officials said they would deliver them if the families wanted to receive them. Most did not. He understood, but he kept writing anyway. Apologies, explanations, confessions. Maybe someday when the children were adults they might want to read them, or maybe not. Either way, he owed them the words. The young guard who had tried to be kind was in a different prison with a shorter sentence. He took classes there, learning about different species and their cultures. He studied human psychology in particular. He wanted to understand what he had been part of. When he was released in 10 years, he planned to dedicate his life to child welfare. He would never forgive himself for his role in the capture, but he could try to do better. It was not much, but it was something. Back on Earth, the 15 children continued growing up. They stayed in touch with each other, meeting once a year on the anniversary. Not to remember the trauma, but to celebrate their survival. They called it Reunion Day, and they spent it doing fun things, Games, food, laughter. Wu Jin was 10 now. He still wanted to be a pilot. His father encouraged this, helping him study navigation and engineering. Sometimes when Wu Jin looked at the stars, he remembered those 6 days. But mostly, he just saw beauty and possibility. He Jin was 12. 10 years had passed since the Korth 7 incident. The children were not children anymore. They were young adults now, making their marks on the galaxy in different ways. The scars remained, but they had learned to live with them. More than that, they had grown around them, becoming stronger in the broken places. Wu Jin was 18 now. He had just graduated from the academy with top marks in piloting and navigation. His father had attended the ceremony, proud but not surprised. Wu Jin had worked hard for this. He had a job lined up with a civilian transport company, escorting colony ships through dangerous space. "Are you sure you want to do escort duty?" Tae-Wan asked him after the ceremony. "There are safer positions," Wu Jin smiled. "I am sure. Those ships carry families, children. Someone needs to keep them safe." Tae-Wan understood. His son had found his purpose during those 6 days in a cold Dirthian cell. Now he would spend his life making sure other children never experienced the same thing. Hye-jin was 20. She had entered diplomatic service just as her teachers predicted. But not human diplomatic service. She worked for the Galactic Council directly, in the newly created Department of Child Protection. Her job was to investigate reports of children being mistreated and coordinate rescue operations if needed. She was good at her work. Very good. She had a way of making people listen whether they wanted to or not. When she walked into a room, aliens twice her size paid attention. There was something about her presence, a quiet strength that commanded respect. She traveled constantly, visiting worlds and stations. Everywhere she went, people knew who she was. Not just one of the Korth 7 children, but someone who had turned her trauma into action. She gave speeches about child rights. She wrote policy papers. She pushed for stronger laws and better enforcement. Some species resented her. They said she was too young, too emotional, too human. She did not care. "Call me whatever you want," she said in one famous interview. "Just do not harm children. That is all I ask." Bora was 16. She had grown into a quiet, thoughtful teenager who still loved art. Her drawings had evolved from simple pictures to complex pieces that captured emotion and movement. She had won several awards and had been offered a place at a prestigious art school, but she had decided to defer for a year. Instead, she was working at a therapy center that helped children who had experienced trauma. She was not a trained therapist, but she helped in other ways. She taught art classes. She listened to stories. She showed young survivors that healing was possible. "You are still so young," her parents worried. "This work could be difficult." "I know," Bora said. "But I also know what it feels like to be scared and think you will never feel normal again. If I can help one kid feel less alone, it is worth it." Her parents could not argue with that. Their daughter had found her calling and they would support her. The other 12 young adults from Korth 7 had gone in various directions. Some joined the military, some became teachers, some entered science fields or business, but they all carried the same understanding. Life was fragile, children were precious, and standing up for what was right mattered. They still met once a year for reunion day. Now they gathered at the memorial station that Admiral Sung-ho had built. They would float in space together, looking at the stars, remembering but not dwelling. They would share stories about their lives, their successes and struggles. They would laugh and sometimes cry, and then they would return to their separate paths, stronger for having been together. Ambassador Velthar was old now. His silver skin had dulled with age and his movements were slower. But his mind was as sharp as ever, and his passion for protecting children had not dimmed. The Velthar Institute had become one of the most respected research centers in the galaxy. Its findings influenced policy across hundreds of worlds. He had just finished giving a lecture when a young Dirthian approached him. The student was nervous, hands fidgeting with a data pad. "Ambassador, may I speak with you?" Velthar was surprised. Dirthian students rarely attended his institute. The shame of Korth 7 still hung heavy on their species. "Of course. I am writing my thesis on the incident. About what my people did. I want to understand how it happened. How intelligent beings could make such a terrible mistake." "That is a good question. Have you found answers?" "Some pride ignorance, a military culture that valued strategy over morality. But I think the biggest reason was that we did not see human children as real. We saw them as tools, as leverage. We forgot they were people. Velthar nodded slowly. That is very insightful. And what will you do with this understanding? I want to teach. To make sure young Dirthians grow up knowing what happened and why it must never happen again. My species has a long way to go to rebuild trust, but we have to start somewhere. That is good work. Important work. Your people need voices like yours. After the student left, Velthar sat in his office and felt something close to hope. If Dirthians could learn and change, if they could face their mistakes honestly, then maybe the galaxy really could become better. The Dirthian civilization had slowly recovered. It took years of hard work and painful reforms. The new government had opened their society to outside observers and accepted help from other species. They rewrote their military codes to emphasize protection of non-combatants. They established strict protocols about prisoners, especially young ones. Most importantly, they created a national holiday. It fell on the day the children were returned. It was called Remembrance Day, and every Dirthian spent it in quiet reflection. Schools taught about the incident. Families discussed what went wrong. It was not a celebration. It was a reminder. A scar on their collective consciousness that they chose never to heal completely, so they would never forget. Some species thought this was too harsh. Why make your children carry this burden? They asked. The Dirthian leader replied, because if they do not carry it, they might repeat it. This is our shame and we own it forever. Commander Crix had died in prison 5 years ago. Natural causes. He had spent his last years writing a book about his experiences and mistakes. It was published after his death and became required reading in Dirthian military schools. The title was simple, I Was Wrong. In it, he detailed every decision that led to the capture, every assumption that proved false, every moment of pride that blinded him to reality. The final chapter was his list of lessons learned, written in his cell as his health failed. The last line of the book read, if you remember nothing else, remember this. Children are never tools. They are never bargaining chips. They are the future, and harming them means there is no future worth having. It was not a good book. It was poorly written and often repetitive, but it was honest, and that honesty made it powerful. Dr. Mi Young had become one of the most influential xenobiologists in human space. Her work on understanding species from dangerous worlds had helped prevent several conflicts. She taught that fear came from ignorance and the cure was knowledge. She had trained hundreds of students over the years. Many of them went into diplomatic service, helping build bridges between humans and aliens. She was proud of that. Her daughter, now grown and working in interstellar commerce, often told her that she had changed the galaxy for the better. I just taught people what should have been obvious, Ma Young would say. That is what good teachers do, her daughter replied. Lieutenant Commander Nara still ran the Child Safety Division. It had grown into a massive organization with thousands of employees across human space. They had prevented dozens of potential kidnapping attempts over the years. Most were stopped before they got started just by being vigilant. She had never married or had children of her own. When people asked why, she said her work was enough. I protect millions of children. That is my family. But privately, she sometimes wondered if the incident had affected her more than she admitted. She had seen the fear in those children's eyes. She had felt the helplessness of not being able to rescue them immediately. Maybe that was why she threw herself into her work so completely. If she could not change the past, she could at least shape the future. Captain Day One, now simply Day One since he had retired from military service, spent his time writing and speaking. His memoirs had been published to critical acclaim. They were honest about his fear, his rage, and his relief. He did not paint himself as a hero, just a father who got his son back. He and Wu Jin were close. They talked regularly, despite Wu Jin's busy schedule. Sometimes they would go flying together in small recreational ships, just enjoying the silence and the stars. Those were Day One's favorite moments. No words needed. Just a father and son, safe and together. The Galactic Council had undergone major changes. The Department of Child Protection that He-Jin worked for had expanded significantly. They had authority to investigate any species suspected of harming children. They could impose sanctions, organize rescues, and coordinate with military forces if needed. Some species complained this was too much power. You are interfering with our sovereignty, they protested. The Council's response was firm. Sovereignty ends where child abuse begins. This is not negotiable. Most species accepted this. A few did not and found themselves isolated from the galactic community. Eventually, they all came around.